First of all, I'm just going to show you the holding down on the D-pad long press. Basically what that does is whatever item is here first on the quick items list, which in most cases would be this Flask of Crimson Tears, it will automatically flick to the first item on your quick items. So if you're pressing down like that on the D-pad and you hold it down, it just goes straight to the flask. So you can use that one if you are in a pinch and need to quickly heal up. Cookbooks will show you which items you can actually craft by consuming the cookbook, so if you press the switch display button, you'll see the items listed. It's also worth mentioning that when you consume that cookbook, those recipes will permanently be unlocked for that character. So on that basis, I'd recommend buying and consuming as many cookbooks as you can. Near the start of your adventure, you'll meet Merchant Carle, also known as Santa. I would highly recommend picking up the item crafting kit from Carle. You'll need this to do any item crafting. I recommend picking yourself up a light source, as some caves can be very dark. For example, you can whip yourself out a torch, which you can buy from Merchant Carle. You can also get yourself a lantern, which attaches to your waist and also frees up both hands. You can grab yourself this lantern from this merchant in the isolated shack, which is towards the south of the map, located here. You can also sort your inventory by different factors. If you push in the left thumbstick, you'll see item type, order of acquisition and number held. The way that I usually find this helpful is if I've picked up an item and I've got no idea where it's gone or what it is, you can actually press order of acquisition and then the most recent item that you have picked up will be at the end of the list. Whilst you are on horseback, you can press RB or RT to attack on the right hand side, and you can press LB or LT to attack on the left hand side. On top of this, if you're holding down the charged attack on horseback, the actual entire length of that charge will have contact damage. We'll use this guard as an example, so hold down right trigger. It took the hit before we actually swung the sword, and again. You can do that both for the charged left trigger and the charged right trigger. If you see this icon on a section of the map that is yet to be revealed, you want to be heading there to grab the map fragment, which will then reveal that section of the map. When picking up a new item, if you look at the icon in the top left corner of the pop-up box, that icon will tell you what type of item you've just picked up. If you equip two weapons of the same type, for example these two daggers here in both the right hand and the left hand, you can then press LB to do a combo with those two weapons together. You'll notice that on your equipment list, weapons of the same type are listed next to each other. For example, these two daggers here, and then we have these two straight swords here. So what we can do is put a dagger in the right hand, dagger in the left hand, and we can have a straight sword in the right hand, straight sword in the left hand. So if we use LB with the two straight swords, we can then do a combo like so. You can still choose to attack with just RB if you just want to use the one sword. LB will always do the combo of the two weapons together, as long as those two weapons are of matching type. You can use rainbow stones to find out if you'll survive a fall or not. Throw the stone off the ledge, and if it smashes, then you will not survive that fall. If you throw it and the stone stays and glows up, then you will survive that fall. If you do have the cookbook for it, then you can craft yourself rainbow stones that require Rune fragments to craft. Some sites of grace will point to the boss of that particular area. For example, you'll see this site of grace is pointing in this direction, which then leads to this site of grace pointing in this direction, so on and so forth until you find and defeat the area boss. To bring down a walk-in mausoleum, you'll need to go around its feet and hit off these barnacles around the edges of its feet. Keep doing this until the walk-in mausoleum eventually stops and then sits down. If you do see any Stonesword Keys for sale, I would recommend picking those up and buying those. They can come in really handy. You will put them into an imp statue and they can open up secret areas. Sometimes what can be useful is using crouch to duck behind a rock. If you're fighting ranged enemies such as these archers, you can just run behind here, press crouch and avoid all of their attacks. You can set yourself up a list of your favourite sites of grace. To do that, first of all, bring up your map and then press Y or triangle, and then on the specific site of grace you would then push in your right thumbstick and that would add it to a list. You would then press Y or triangle again, and then that would bring up your favourite or your marked sites of grace. You could then press the right thumbstick in again on a site of grace that you've marked as your favourite if you want to remove it from the list. Another quick thing to mention about the map is, after you've pressed Y or triangle to bring up the list of sites of grace, you can then press X or square to instantly go to the round table, which will kind of save you going all the way over the map every single time and pressing it. If a merchant has the sell option, you can then go into that sell menu and sell any of these rune items that you may have picked up. It will give you the same value as if you was using them from your inventory, but you can stay in this menu and sell as many times as you like without this menu ever closing, which might save you some time. I'd recommend picking up the Flask of Wondrous Physick. You can put 2 crystal tears in that flask and then drink it to temporarily gain the benefits of those 2 crystal tears. You can pick up this flask quite early in the game, located here on the map, and you'll find various crystal tears along your journey. Keep your eyes peeled for broken down church structures. Inside those, you'll usually find a sacred tear. You can use the sacred tear to upgrade your flask. It won't give you an extra flask, but it will restore more HP or FP per drink of the flask. To actually apply the upgrade to your flask, make sure that you're resting at a site of grace, then go down to flasks, and then increase amount replenished by flasks, and then consume the sacred tear. After it's consumed, if you look down in the bottom left hand corner of the screen, you'll now see it says Flask of Crimson Tears +1. If you see any of these small golden trees, make sure to head on up to them and collect the item that's underneath, which will be a golden seed. You can use golden seeds to increase the maximum amount of flasks that you have, and in a similar way to the sacred tears, you would also use the golden seeds at a site of grace as well. Go to flasks, add charge to flasks, and then use golden seed. If you are interested, I do have a video on all 40 golden seed locations, although you only need 30 golden seeds to reach the maximum amount of flasks. I'd recommend trying to exhaust NPC dialogues. A lot of the time NPCs will give you quests and rewards. Sometimes they might give you key items, and I'd recommend checking the description of that key item, which will usually give you a hint as to where to go. Certain NPC questlines can even turn the NPC into a vendor/shop/merchant, so it's definitely worth checking out. After you get your hands on a Great Rune, there's a couple of things that you'll need to do first of all to make sure the Great Rune is actually working. The first step is activating it at a Divine Tower, which you'll find by exploring the land. After that, you then go to a Site of Grace, go to this Great Runes menu, and then equip the Great Rune from here. This menu will also show you what the Great Rune actually does. In this example, this one raises all attributes. After you've activated the Great Rune at a Divine Tower and also equipped it at the Site of Grace, you'll also need to use another item called a Rune Arc, which actually enables the effects of the Great Rune. Now, if you look in the top left hand corner of the screen, you'll see that the symbol is glowing up, which means we are currently receiving the beneficial effects of the Great Rune. These enhanced effects will stay with our character permanently unless we die, in which case we'll lose them and we'll have to use a Rune Arc to get them back again. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and it helped you out in some way. If it did, remember to like, subscribe and drop a comment. You can check out all the other content that I make at Azzavhar.com,